AI won't steal your job, but your boss's stupidity about AI might steal your job. And just to be clear, this is not a hot take. This is consistent with about 40 years of research on automation and cognition and work. We've been studying automation anxiety since the 1980s, so this panic cycle is not a new phenomenon. Back in 1983, a researcher named Lisanne Bainbridge published something called The Ironies of Automation. And her whole point was that automation failures are almost always failures of system design and human oversight, not tech capability. So if this sounds familiar, we're going down the same road with AI. So if you're being sold fear about AI replacing you, ask yourself who benefits from that story? Who is getting anything out of that narrative? Let's talk about why the AI will replace you story exists in the first place. That is because fear is profitable. And there's actual behavioral science behind why fear-based tech narratives spread faster than reality. Kahneman and Tversky, who were Nobel Prize winners in behavioral economics, showed us that humans overweight vivid threats and underweight boring probabilities. So we're literally wired to panic about the dramatic stuff and ignore the statistical reality. There's also something called the fog behavior model, which basically says that fear increases motivation, but decreases the quality of your reasoning. When people are scared, they don't think better, they think faster and sloppier. And that is great for selling software, but terrible for building systems. So when you see headlines that say AI will replace 300 million jobs, remember that loss aversion sells and rational assessment doesn't. Let's talk about what AI actually is at work. AI is not a worker. It is a force multiplier. Economists have been very clear about this. Technology substitutes tasks, not jobs. David Otter and his colleagues published research in 2003 and in 2015 showing that technology replaces routine tasks, but not complex human work. So jobs don't just disappear wholesale, but they do evolve over time. Your job is not a single thing either. It is a messy bundle of decisions, judgment calls, admin nonsense, and AI touches that admin piece. Humans still own the consequence. So when someone tells you that AI is doing your job, what they actually mean is AI is handling repetitive tasks so that you can focus on the parts that require judgment, empathy, and context. That is not replacement, that is redesign. Now, the real failure mode. Automation without judgment is just chaos. And this exact failure pattern shows up in things like aviation, healthcare, finance, long before AI ever existed. If you think back, remember Bainbridge, she warned us that the more automated a system becomes, the more catastrophic human failure becomes when humans are disengaged. There's also research from Micah Ensley on something called situation awareness. Her work shows that automation reduces operator awareness if humans are not actively in the loop. When you automate people out of the loop, you don't get fewer errors, you get fewer noticed errors. And if your work involves vulnerable people, which it does if you're mission driven, you don't want a system that hides mistakes, you want a system that surfaces mistakes. Let's talk about AI as collaborative labor. AI should reduce cognitive load, but not replace thinking. There's actually a name for this kind of work that AI should be doing, and it's called reducing extraneous cognitive load. John Sweller developed cognitive load theory back in 1988. And the idea is simple. It is our brains have limited capacity. And if you overload someone with busy work, they can't focus on what actually matters. AI is great at clearing mental clutter, but it should never be deciding what matters. There's also research on human in the loop systems, work by Salima Amirshi, showing that the best outcomes occur when humans retain authority. So AI as collaborative labor really means that it handles the noise so that you can hear the signal. It drafts so that you can make the decision, and it sorts so that you can prioritize. But it doesn't replace your judgment, it should be supporting it. So what should mission-driven organizations actually do? Adopt slowly and design intentionally. Here's what that actually looks like. First, start with the decision, not the tool. Herbert Simon, Nobel laureate in economics, talked about what he called bounded rationality, which is a concept that says tools should support decisions but not overwhelm them. If you don't know what decision this improves, then it's just noise with a login. It's a platform and it's not actually helping you. Second, protect human judgment. There's a whole body of research on something called moral de-skilling, which is the idea that over-automation will erode a human's ethical responsibility. And if no human feels responsible, then that system is unethical by default. Third, make ownership explicit. Philip Tetlock's work on accountability shows that clear responsibility improves the quality of decisions. AI doesn't take responsibility, but people do, or no one does. Fourth, measure clarity, not speed. Goodhart's law says that when a metric becomes a target, it stops being useful. Speed is the easiest metric to game, but it's also the least meaningful. Ask instead, did this make the decision clearer, or did it surface what matters? Now we get to the humanity question. Efficiency is not the goal. Impact is. There's a reason that healthcare, education, and social work consistently reject full automation, and it's not because they're behind the times. It's because they understand something really fundamental. There's research on value-sensitive design work by Batya Friedman and others that says systems must preserve human values, not just outputs. So if your system is efficient but inhumane, it is a failure, full stop. The question isn't, can AI do this? The question is, should it? And the answer depends entirely on whether it makes your work more human or less human. Build systems that think with you, not over you. Every major automation disaster that we study has the same root cause, and that is people stopped thinking because the system told them to. AI won't steal your job, but it will absolutely reveal whether leadership understands how work actually works. If you're building systems for mission-driven work, or if you're trying to survive inside of one, because the organizations that get this right won't just be more efficient, they'll be more human. And that's the whole point.